Imagine a world shrouded in darkness, a world where the night belonged to the predators, and our ancestors were just another vulnerable creature huddled together for warmth and safety. They were small, not the strongest, not the fastest. Their world was one of constant fear, a relentless struggle for survival against the cold and the things that lurked in the shadows. This was the reality for early humans, millions of years ago. But something was about to happen, a single, fleeting event that would not just change their lives, but would ignite the very course of human evolution and set us on the path to becoming who we are today. This is the story of fire, not just the chemical reaction, but the moment humanity captured a star and held it in its hands. It's a story of courage, curiosity, and a discovery that would forever separate us from every other species on this planet. So, how did it happen? The first encounters with fire were likely terrifying. Imagine a lightning strike, a blazing wildfire sweeping across the savanna. The natural reaction would be to run, to flee from the destructive, all-consuming force. For countless generations, that's exactly what our ancestors did. Fire was a monster, a bringer of death and desolation. But then, something shifted. Perhaps it was a particularly brave, or maybe just a very curious individual. Picture this. A fire has ravaged a section of the forest. The air is thick with smoke. Most animals have fled, but one of our ancestors, maybe a Homo erectus, cautiously approaches the smoldering aftermath. Instead of pure terror, they feel something else. Warmth. The biting cold of the night is held at bay by this strange, glowing phenomenon. They might have noticed something else, too. The predators that haunted their nights were nowhere to be seen. The fire, this terrifying force, was also a guardian. It created a circle of light and safety in a world dominated by darkness. This was the first revolutionary idea. Fire could be a shield. Then came the next leap of imagination. After a wildfire, they would have found animals that hadn't escaped, cooked by the flames. Scavenging was a way of life. But this was different. The meat was tender, easier to chew, and it tasted better. More than that, it was easier to digest. This was a gift. Cooking food is like outsourcing a part of our digestive process. The energy our bodies would have spent breaking down tough, raw plant fibers and meat was now freed up. And where did that energy go? Straight to our brains. Scientists believe this dietary shift, made possible by fire, was a critical factor in the rapid expansion of the human brain. Cooking unlocked a massive surplus of calories that fueled the growth of the most complex organ on the planet. We weren't just eating. We were eating for intelligence. Our brains grew larger. Our thinking became more complex. And the seeds of culture, language, and technology were sown. All thanks to a cooked meal. But there's a huge difference between finding a fire and making one. For a long, long time, our ancestors were fire keepers, not fire makers. They would have painstakingly tended to embers from a natural fire, carrying them from place to place. A smoldering branch would have been the most precious possession of the entire clan. Letting the fire go out could mean freezing to death, or falling prey to a saber-toothed cat. The responsibility would have been immense. Imagine the anxiety of guarding that single, precious flame, the heart of your small community. This act of tending the fire changed our social structure. The hearth became the center of human life. At night, instead of huddling in fear, our ancestors gathered around the flickering light. This was the first living room, the first town square. Around the fire, they were safe. They could see each other's faces, share food, and communicate. This is likely where language began to truly flourish. In the safety of the firelight, there was time for more than just grunts and warning calls. There was time for stories. Elders could pass down knowledge to the young, where to find water, which plants were safe to eat, how to track animals. The fire became a library of oral tradition, a social glue that bonded the group together, strengthening cooperation and creating a shared identity. It lengthened the day, giving our ancestors precious hours for social interaction and innovation. After the sun went down, so when did we finally master fire, moving from keepers to creators? The evidence is hard to pin down, but it happened gradually. Maybe it started by observing that certain stones, when struck together, created a spark, or that rubbing two sticks together generated heat. Imagine the moment of revelation, the sheer, mind-blowing realization that you could create this godlike power on command. It wasn't a single eureka moment seen in cartoons. It was a difficult, frustrating process, learned over thousands of generations. It required the right wood, the right technique, the right conditions. But once mastered, humanity was truly untethered. We were no longer dependent on the whims of nature. We could create warmth, light, and safety wherever we went. This was the key that unlocked the planet. With the ability to make fire, we were no longer confined to the warm climates of Africa. We could venture into the colder lands of Europe and Asia. Fire was our portable slice of the tropics, our survival kit for the Ice Age. It allowed us to harden the tips of wooden spears, making us more effective hunters. It enabled us to shape tools and, eventually, to forge metals, laying the groundwork for all future technology. Every time you flick a lighter, turn on a stove, or sit by a campfire, you are repeating an act that fundamentally redefined what it means to be human. It was a moment of incredible bravery, of stepping towards the thing that everyone feared and seeing not a monster, but a tool, a partner, a new beginning. The discovery of fire wasn't just about warmth or cooking. It was about conquering fear. It was about transforming our relationship with the natural world from one of pure survival to one of emerging mastery. It gave us the time to think, the safety to socialize, and the energy to grow the complex brains that would eventually ponder the stars themselves. It was the first, and perhaps the most important, spark of human genius, a flickering flame that lit the long, incredible journey of our species. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into what makes us human. Let me know in the comments what you think was the most impactful part of harnessing fire. Until next time, stay curious.